Hello everybody, welcome along. This is the Transfer Show. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is back in London after an ill-fated trip to the Africa Cup of Nations, but could he soon be leaving Arsenal? Darmesh and Cover Solokol are going to be with us here to discuss all of the day's big transfer news. And all eyes on Newcastle United once again as they step up their search for players. We're going to tell you about a Premier League tug-of-war for Diego Carlos. Well, we're going to have team news from tonight's matches with Manchester United captain Harry Maguire and Anthony Martial both on the bench for their clash at Brentford. Yeah, Carve, Darmesh, good evening to you guys. Past halfway in the window now. It's been quite a window so far. Lots of stories flying around. Very, very busy. We're going to start tonight, though, gents, if you don't mind, with Arsenal. And it seems unlikely that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is going to forget January 2022 in a hurry, much like you guys, I suppose. Rarely out the headlines. We're going to start with his future tonight. Darmesh, what's the latest?
Right, this is a story that was first reported by James Benge from CBS Sports, and it's been confirmed to us in the last hour that the Saudi Arabian club Al Nassr have made an offer to sign the Arsenal striker Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. It's thought the offer is for a loan move until the end of the season, but some reports have suggested that the loan comes with an obligation to buy for around €8 million. Now, you remember, we reported earlier this month that if offers did come in for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, then Arsenal would consider them. Remember, stripped of the captaincy last month, and it hasn't really gone right for him at Arsenal since. Hasn't made an appearance since that had happened. Now, a departure now would, of course, represent a huge saving for Arsenal because Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's contract with 18 months left is worth around £350,000 a week. If they were to manage to offload Aubameyang in this transfer window and he didn't pay for Arsenal again, and all of his wages were covered, it would represent a saving of around £25 million. Now, you mentioned that Aubameyang is back in London after being sent back by the Gabon national team because from the Africa Cup of Nations after scans revealed heart lesions following a bout of COVID-19. Now, the Arsenal manager, Mikel Arteta, was asked about that very subject in his news conference earlier on this afternoon, and this is what Arteta had to say about Aubameyang.
Yeah, he's in London and now he's going through some examination because we haven't had any clarity from the Gabon national team about the reasons why he came back. So obviously it's our obligation to make sure that medically the player is safe, is in good conditions, and there are not any issues related to that. And to try to avoid any suggestion that's the case, because so far, historically, everything that we've done with the player, he's never had that issue. So hopefully that's the case. He contracted COVID, and then the national team decided to bring him back here, and this is where we are. So let's go step by step. Let's again do the right examinations and make sure the player's health is in the best possible condition, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, those are the thoughts of the Arsenal manager, Mikel Arteta. Sounds like he wants clarity on that situation. But just to reiterate, we're told in the last hour that the Saudi Arabian club Al Nassr have made an offer to sign Arsenal striker Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. It's for a loan, and we think it comes with an obligation to buy for around €8 million.
Interesting. You wonder whether any Premier League clubs might have a little go at that, if that does develop at all. We'll keep a close eye on it. And Darmesh, you've talked about the strike situation, but Cav, you're going to talk about the midfield situation. Arthur Melo is a long-term target this window. Any developments there?
Yes, look, Arsenal are trying to sign a midfielder. They're trying to sign Arthur from Juventus. And the big development today has been that the player's agent, we're told, has been in London for talks with Arsenal. Now, the situation is that Arsenal would like him on loan. Juventus, I think, are open to him leaving on loan, but they would like an option or an obligation included in the deal. And I think Juventus would like it to be an 18-month loan deal, and they also need to line up a replacement before they let Arthur leave. Now, potentially, this could be a great signing for Arsenal if they manage to get him on loan, because he's somebody who moved to Juventus, I think, about 18 months ago from Barcelona. as part of the swap deal for Miralem Pjanic. So Arsenal working hard to try and make this deal happen. The player's agent in London today for talks with Arsenal. And our information is, as far as the player is concerned, he would like to move to Arsenal. He's ready to make the move, pack his bags, come to London and play for Arsenal. But of course, a deal needs to be sorted out between the two clubs. His agent doing what he can to make it happen.
Talking of players wanting to make a move to the Premier League, let's talk about Newcastle. Diego Carlos, the centre-back, Brazilian centre-back at Seville currently. You reported last week that, he wants the move to Newcastle. We understand he was forcing a move to Newcastle as well. Newcastle fans all getting a bit excited about this as a potential transfer, but all of a sudden today there seems there's some competition for his signature. Is it a worry for Newcastle and their supporters?
I think there's good news and bad news. The good news, you mentioned it. Again, we got more information today that the player himself wants to move. He wants to move to Newcastle. And I think there is some suggestion, although this has not been confirmed, that the player himself feels that he has some kind of promise from Sevilla, almost a gentleman's agreement, that if a big club were to come in for him and offer him a sort of life-changing contract, then Sevilla wouldn't stand in his way as long as their valuation was met. And I think the player feels that Newcastle tick a lot of those boxes, which is why he wants to move. Now, the situation today is that another Premier League club have made an offer for him, and the information we have is that offer matches what Newcastle have offered for him, which I think is about £30 million. That is what we've been told. About an hour and a half ago as well, we were told that the Italian club who were interested in signing him, because in the background there's been this Italian club, their offer for him had been below the £30 million that Newcastle and this other Premier League club are offering. Look, if you look at the state of Italian football at the moment, there is no way that any Italian club, even the heavyweights, Milan, Juventus, Inter, can afford to spend £30 million at the moment on a centre-back. So I think that, I wouldn't discount it, but it's there in the background. There is big interest from this Italian club. But I still think that Newcastle are in the driving seat. Lots of people involved in the deal are trying to make it happen. He is a very, very good defender. There's an article about him on the Sky Sports website today going into depth about his background and the way he plays. I think we'll be hearing about that a bit later this programme. But I wouldn't be worried if I was a Newcastle fan, because this is a transfer window. He's a very good player. Other clubs are always going to be interested. But I suppose it is a bit of a concern that somebody else is coming in for him as well. What's going to be really, really interesting is this evening. Valencia versus Sevilla. Yeah. Is he going to be involved in that game at all? Because we told you yesterday that he'd put in a transfer request. He told the president and the manager of Sevilla that he wanted to leave. That game kicks off at 8:30 our time, so we need to look out to see if he's involved in that at all.
We'll have the teams in 20 minutes then, won't we, we think? So we'll let you know here on Sky Sports News whether or not Diego Carlos is in the starting 11 for Seville. That'll be interesting, like you say. Thanks, Carve. And the other big news around Newcastle today involves Jesse Lingard, Darmesh, who is a player who we think's been on Newcastle's radar for some time, but attempts to sign him appear to have stepped up a gear today, shall we say.
You mentioned we're looking out for the team news from Sevilla. We've just got the team news from the Brentford-Manchester United game tonight, and Jesse Lingard is not in the 20-man squad that is at the Brentford Community Stadium to face Brentford for Manchester United. Now, we know Newcastle, very interested, and they have made an approach to Manchester United about Jesse Lingard's availability. We do know as well he's out of contract at the end of the season. As it stands, no interest in staying beyond the end of his contract at Old Trafford. So, on the flip side, would Jesse Lingard be interested in Newcastle United? Well, we know that he'd be very interested in hearing what Newcastle United had to say, first of all. A permanent move not been ruled out either, but I think it would have to be financially conducive for Jesse Lingard to consider that permanent deal, simply because come the end of the season, he'll be a free agent, and a free agent can command a little bit more money in terms of wages and maybe on a signing on fee, because they know that the transfer fee will have been forgone. So I think Newcastle United might have to put some sort of package together to tempt him on a permanent move. Lingard, though, is good friends with Kieran Trippier, and he's said to be very impressed that Newcastle United have managed to attract a player of Trippier's calibre to St James's Park, despite the position that they find themselves in. Lingard has got to think about his future as well. Number one, there's a World Cup year. He wants to get regular first-team football to force his way back into Gareth Southgate's squad. He was given some sort of assurance, we think, after that great loan spell at West Ham United when he came back by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Yes, you're part of the squad. We're going to use you next season. So far, 0 Premier League starts. That's not what he was expecting. And so now it's decision time. Does he hold fire and stay at United in this transfer window and wait until the summer? But then does that then mean he would forego a big chance, you'd have to say, of trying to get into the England squad, unless he moved somewhere in the summer and then he's got a 2 or 3 month window to try and force his way in? I think it's definitely one to keep an eye on, and there's definite interest there from Newcastle United.
Yeah, big decision for them as well. Sorry, Carve, but obviously they're going to know they're going to have a lot of competition in the summer.
Yeah,
Newcastle want the player. They've got to go now, don't they?
I think it's a no-brainer for Newcastle. I think he's available on loan. The loan fee, I think, is about £2 million. Then you have to pay all his wages. His wages, I think, are about £80,000 a week. And for a club who are in Newcastle's position, that is not a lot of money considering the quality of player you'll be getting. Newcastle's problem, one of their problems this season, has been scoring goals. I think they've only scored 8 times in the last 10 games. Jesse Lingard is the kind of player, not only does he score goals, he creates goals. We saw the impact he had on loan at West Ham United last season. I think he'd be a great signing for Newcastle, even if it is just on loan until the end of the season, because he would really improve their chances of staying up, in my opinion, for what it's worth.
Well, West Ham United fans are always asking as well, why are we not going back in for Jesse Lingard? And now we know that Tottenham have made approaches to his representatives of a potential move in the summer. I don't think it's in Manchester United's interests to release him to West Ham United or to Tottenham. This is not last season. Last season, Manchester United were going for a second-place finish. This season, West Ham United and Tottenham are direct rivals for a top-4 finish. So why would Manchester United strengthen the likes of West Ham United and Tottenham by saying, yes, you can have Jesse Lingard? Just a little bit more news from that team that's facing Brentford for Manchester United as well. On the bench for United, Anthony Martial and Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire being left out of that first 11. Marcus Rashford on the bench as well, and Donny van de Beek. That is going to be a talking point for the rest of this transfer window as well. And just an interesting one, the Sky Sports website has named the 11. Cristiano Ronaldo starts for Manchester United, but the captain is Bruno Fernandes in Harry Maguire's absence.
Interesting. Yeah, we know that Maguire's struggling with a slight injury still, not deemed 100% fit, I think, and obviously captaining from the bench was what we were told. OK, a few more names just to throw at you before we take a break, gents. Darmesh, he was on the show last week. Jermaine Defoe, and teams showing an interest. I mean, he'll get you goals.
He said on the show last week that his phone was red hot. It wouldn't stop ringing. Lots of interest in Jermaine Defoe. And we're told today Sunderland, Ipswich, Charlton Athletic and Oxford all interested in signing Jermaine Defoe on a short-term deal that will take him until the end of the season. Now, he's also got coaching offers as well, which is why he hasn't fully made his mind up whether he'll continue playing until the end of the season. I think that would be his preference, but if a coaching offer came along that he couldn't refuse, it would be something that he would definitely have to think about. He's previously said, though, that he wants to finish his career by playing in front of fans. He's 39 years old now. He's a free agent after leaving Rangers earlier this month. But it looks like there's a few clubs interested in Jermaine Defoe.
playing in front of a crowd. I mean, those Sunderland fans absolutely adore him, don't they, as well? I'm sure any of those clubs would love to get him, I'm sure. Carve, Usman Dembele at Barcelona. He's been linked with a lot of teams this window. What's the latest there?
I mean, this is a really, really messy situation. Everything's coming to a head this evening. Simply, Usman Dembele is a player who cost Barcelona about £100 million. He hasn't done particularly well. He's had lots of injury problems, and he's out of contract in the summer. What Barcelona have done, they've got financial problems. They've offered him a new deal on reduced terms. And perhaps unsurprisingly, him and his advisors have said, we're not going to sign a new contract.
That's what Samuel Umtiti did as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
he signed a reduced fee.
He did it, but Usman Dembele not willing to do it. In fact, there have been reports in Spain that he's been asking for a £30 million signing on fee and wages of about £500,000 a week. Now, what Barcelona have done is say to him, you're out of contract in the summer. You've got two choices. You either sign this new contract that we're offering you, or you will be sold immediately. We're not going to have you here for another 5 months and then leaving for nothing in the summer. Either sign the deal or we're going to sell you immediately. Obviously, Dembele and his advisors think they're being threatened because they have a contract with Barcelona. They can see out that contract, wait and then move in the summer. But Xavi, the Barcelona head coach, has been speaking and he said, we can't wait. He either renews or a solution to sell him must be found immediately. He says he wants to stay, but then he doesn't sign. At the moment, Xavi is having a meeting with the Barcelona director of football. They are trying to work out what they're going to do, because I think this could become an even messier situation. Because I think from a legal point of view, they can't tell the player you're leaving or you're not playing with us or remove him from their squad, because he has a contract with Barcelona. They're trying to force him out. It remains to be seen whether Dembele signs the contract or he leaves this month. I think he'd have lots of clubs who'd be interested in signing him, perhaps not at a £500,000 a week, but I think the situation should become clearer this evening. It could be a case of who blinks first, Barcelona or Usman Dembele and his advisors.
Goodness me, right, we'll keep an eye on that as well. And just one other name, talking about teams tonight, Darmesh, Tangana at Spurs. He's been linked with the move away, Serie A has been mentioned, but he looks like he's in the starting lineup for Tottenham tonight.
I don't think we should be surprised he's in the starting lineup. We told you yesterday that AC Milan were interested in a loan move for Japhet Tanganga of Tottenham. It's thought Tanganga has concerns about his game time once Eric Dyer and Christian Romero are fit again for Tottenham. Now, Sky Italy are reporting that AC Milan have made contact with Tottenham, but Tottenham don't want to let him go on loan until at least next week. And the reason for that is they want him around for tonight's game, and it's shown and evidence in the starting lineup. Tanganga starts, and for Sunday's game at Chelsea, while Romero and Dyer recover from their respective injuries. Now, if Romero returns and his recovery is good and he can come back and play almost immediately, only then will Tottenham consider allowing Tanganga to leave. But that is one to watch in the final week of the transfer window, I think.
OK. Darmesh, Carve, for now, thank you so much. Plenty more to come up as well. We're going to be looking closer at Newcastle target Diego Carlos and what he might bring to Tyneside.
Time now to go around the clubs.
Yep, Saudi Arabian club Al Nassr have made an offer to sign Arsenal striker Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang.
Steven Gerrard has already made 3 signings this month. He wants Brighton's Yves Bissouma as well. Any potential move may have to wait until the summer.
Aaron Hickey and Mykhailo Mudryk are among a number of options Brentford are looking into for their priority wing-back position.
Brighton still in talks to sign Julio Enciso from Paraguayan club Libertad. They don't want to sell the 17-year-old, but it could be difficult to turn down a big offer from a Premier League club.
Burnley, they remain interested in striker Andy Carroll. He's currently a free agent after a 2-month spell at Reading.
Chelsea still in the market for a left-back, but a deal for Levin Kurzawa from PSG is looking unlikely.
Crystal Palace love a late deal, but as it stands, no incoming expected due to the form of Jean-Philippe Mateta and Christian Benteke's reluctance to leave.
Everton's focus is on finding a new manager to replace Rafa Benitez. Duncan Ferguson in caretaker charge for the time being.
Leeds United remain in talks with RB Salzburg over the signing of midfielder Brendan Aronson.
Good news on the injury front for Leicester. With lots of players back training, Brendan Rodgers still looking to sign a centre-back on loan.
Liverpool likely to remain quiet in this window, and much of the focus is on Mohamed Salah's contract.
Borussia Dortmund have denied they're putting pressure on Manchester City target Erling Haaland to decide his future. He has a £64 million release clause which can be activated this summer.
Newcastle United have made an approach to Manchester United for Jesse Lingard. Lingard is out of contract at Old Trafford in the summer.
Newcastle face competition for Sevilla defender Diego Carlos from 2 other clubs, one in England and one in Italy. The player wants to move even though Sevilla are second in La Liga.
Norwich City manager Dean Smith happy with his squad but may do business if Todd Cantwell leaves.
Southampton, one of the clubs being linked with a move for Fulham attacking midfielder Fabio Carvalho. He's out of contract in the summer.
Tottenham interested in Middlesbrough wingback Jed Spence. Spence is currently on loan at Nottingham Forest.
Watford are close to signing Bordeaux winger Samuel Kalou. He's set to become their 4th signing of the window.
Money is available for West Ham United manager David Moyes to strengthen his squad, but he's struggling to find better players than the ones he already has.
And Wolves value Adama Traore at more than Spurs are willing to pay. If that remains the case, he will be staying at Wolves.
A couple of Premier League matches tonight we're going to be keeping you up to date with as well, with Brentford taking on Manchester United. That's an 8 o'clock kick-off, and also Leicester versus Tottenham. We've got former Wolves and Burnley wing with us, Michael Kite, who's going to be watching the game at the King Power Stadium. Michael, welcome along. Welcome to the Transfer Show. We're also going to get your thoughts on some transfers as well, mate, while you're here, if you don't mind. Obviously, as I said, they're former Wolves and Burnley player. Look, Wolves are having a decent season. Burnley aren't having a particularly good season, are they? So were you surprised? We start with Burnley that Chris Wood, that's been buyout clause, he's left. I mean, how much of a blow is that for them?
It's a massive blow. It really is. He's been their top goal scorer for the last few seasons. He's the one that you look at. You know, they don't score many goals anyway, but he's the one that you look at that will nick them a goal. And this is a vital time of the season. And if they don't get someone in to replace him quick, they're in trouble.
Yeah, they've got it done. Dom's, I mean, like Michael says, I think double figures last few seasons as well for the club. He's their all-time top goal scorer. Replacements being lined up, what are you hearing?
Well, one's an interesting one. Burnley interested in Andy Carroll. He's actually training with Reading still, but he's had a 2-month spell at Reading. He signed a 2-month contract. He scored on the final day of that contract over the weekend. So he's officially a free agent. So if Burnley do want to sign him, they actually don't have to do it by the end of this transfer window. They're not limited by that window. But, I mean, look, the season is going on, isn't it? They've got lots of games. They'll probably want to bring in a striker as soon as possible to replace Chris Wood. Reading, for their part, will be hoping that he'll stay. So definitely one to keep an eye on, Andy Carroll. A free agent. Could Burnley go into the market and bring him to Turf Moor?
Good move, do you think, that, Carroll, under Sean Dyche at Burnley?
Yeah, I think it is a good move. You know, the thing that Burnley have got a problem with, is there any top striker that want to go to Burnley? At the minute, probably not. You know, we've got Newcastle on the other side that are having a right go of it and obviously got the money behind them. Are Burnley going to throw loads of money at a striker, pay 40, 50 million for a striker? I don't think so. So I think Carroll will be a good suit. I think he's a Sean Dyche type of player. Obviously gets hold of it, strong. They can play off him. And he might be the player that they need to grind out those results that they need to stay in the division.
He started to find the back of the net a bit as well for Reading as well. He had a couple of brilliant goals disallowed the other night, didn't he? You saw a couple of incredible goals, both of them disallowed, a bicycle kick and a volley from outside the box that flew in the top corner. Burnley have hardly played any games. I mean, you look at it, they've had so many postponed because of COVID. Your old team, I know you'll be desperate for them to stay up, but is this the season where they finally go? It's looking increasingly difficult, isn't it?
I was just saying just back there that I worry about them every year. I really do, because they don't spend much money. They don't sort of improve their squad. But Sean Dyche has a way of improving his players, which he has done over the years. But I think the next couple of weeks is massive, because if they don't strengthen, I think they're going to be in trouble. I know they've got games in hand, but they've got to go and win those games in hand, and their squad is small. So if they get a couple more injuries, obviously the COVID situation, I do really worry for them. But if anyone can do it, Sean Dyche is your man. And
just one on Wolves as well, Adama Traore, target for Tottenham. How much do they need to try and keep a hold of him?
Yeah, if they want to try and get into Europe, I think they need to keep hold of him. I know he doesn't play every game, but he comes on and affects games, as you see at the Southampton game and Man United earlier on in the month. So if they lose him, they sort of are they sort of losing the fact that they might not go for Europa League? And I think there's a realistic chance of them finishing that. But Spurs' point of view, I think he'd be a great signing. I'm a Spurs fan myself, but I've got my Wolves connection. Yeah. I'd like to see him stay, but if he goes to Spurs, then...
You'd like to see him there as well?
Then I think he could push them on to Champions League spots.
Yeah, he's a special player. Michael Grace, if you're staying with us, you're watching the earlier game tonight, so we'll be chatting to you about that in just a few moments. And talking of the games this evening, don't forget you can watch tonight's Premier League goals on the Sky Sports app. That's shortly after full time. Just get yourself on the app and you can see the goals right there. So it's a great way of keeping up to date with what's happened in the big matches. Look, Nick's back with us. Great to see you, Nick. And I enjoy these times when you come on the show. We look at different players. And tonight we're going to be looking at a player that Newcastle fans are going to be really interested in. That's Diego Carlos, the centre-back. We spoke about him a bit on the show already. He wants to move to St James's Park. Eddie Howe's desperate to add him to the squad. Should Newcastle fans be excited? And if so, why?
I think they should, yeah. I mean, it would be a big challenge for any player right now to come into that struggling defence, wouldn't it? But he's certainly someone who looks like he could be an exciting signing. I mean, the first thing to say is that he's been a part of a really impressive Sevilla defence for the last 2.5 years. They had the third best defensive record in La Liga last season, and this season it's been even better. Only 13 goals conceded, which is the joint lowest total in Europe's major leagues. As you can see there, along with Manchester City, they've also kept 11 clean sheets in 20 games. And Diego Carlos really has been key to those defensive performances. He's actually played more minutes than any other Sevilla player this season, and that shows really his importance and explains why they are so reluctant to lose him.
OK, yeah, so they're reluctant to lose him. Well, we know that, aren't we? Because they still haven't agreed a fee yet. What are his main qualities?
Well, he's become a real leader in that Sevilla team, and he's physically very impressive as well. He's strong, he's quick, he's very aggressive in the way he defends, and he's good in the air too. He ranks pretty highly in La Liga for clearances and aerials won. You can see there he's also made more blocks than any other player in the division, which shows his bravery as a defender. And he's also very good on the ball. Only Sergio Busquets has made more passes in La Liga this season, and Diego Carlos has completed 88% of those passes. There are also certain weaknesses in his game. We can see that with the bottom statistic there. He's made 5 individual errors leading to shots, which is the most in La Liga. He can be a little rash with his decisions, and he is prone to lapses. So he's by no means perfect, but we are still talking about a Champions League level defender who would be a significant upgrade on what Newcastle have.
OK, Nick, thank you very much indeed. And we talked about Diego Carlos. We said to keep an eye on the Sevilla starting lineup tonight. Carve, what are you hearing?
Yeah, the Sevilla starting 11 has just dropped. It's just been announced. And Diego Carlos is starting for Sevilla this evening against Valencia. Very important game for Sevilla. Of course, they're second in La Liga. And at the moment, they've got the best defensive record in Spanish football. And Diego Carlos starting, even though he's told Sevilla he wants to leave. He's made it clear to them that he wants to leave. He wants to move to Newcastle. He believes that he has some kind of agreement with the club that they would allow him to leave if a big offer came in for him from a club like Newcastle. But obviously, he's not the kind of character who's going to down tools and go on strike. Sevilla have said to him, this is an important game you're playing, and he's playing for them this evening. If you're a Newcastle fan, I suppose you'll be hoping, fingers crossed, that he doesn't pick up some kind of injury this evening. But as far as Sevilla are concerned, he's still their player, and he's going to play for them, especially in an important game like the one this evening against Valencia.
All eyes on full time.
It should also be noted as well, Pete, that Jules Koundé, who is his defensive partner, he misses this game with a back injury. So I don't think Sevilla would have wanted to go into a game like that with both of their first choice central defenders missing from a game.
He's got a buyout clause, Koundé, hasn't he?
Yes.
We know.
67? 8 million?
Well, he was very close to moving to Chelsea in the summer, but Sevilla played hardball. They wouldn't let him go. He wanted to go. He was quite upset about the whole situation, but he's been told as well, you're our player, you've got a contract with us, you're not going anywhere unless we get an offer that meets our valuation of what we think you're worth, which is why he's had to stay. Obviously, we know that Chelsea will be in the market for at least one central defender this summer. It'll be interesting to see whether they go back in for Jules Koundé.
If they're such a good partnership, everyone says, I mean...
You might as well buy
them both. Great stuff. OK, it'll be interesting to see full-time pictures at Seville as well. We saw Kieran Trippier waving to all the Atletico Madrid fans, didn't we, before he signed for Newcastle. We'll see what the body language is like for Diego Carlos this evening. And next, we are going to be getting news from all 20 clubs in our Premier League wrap, plus updates from the Leicester against Tottenham game with Michael. And Alex Bruce is with us. He's watching Brentford against Manchester United. Games this evening. Battle for the top four should take on a bit of interest this evening as Leicester City take on Spurs, and Michael Kitely's watching this right now. Michael, only just underway, but anything of any note so far?
Not really, but I would say that Leicester have started a lot better than Tottenham. Tottenham haven't really got out of their half. They look to be playing on the front foot. Leicester, they've had a couple of crosses go into the box that have been defended well from Spurs, but just you feel that it's a negative approach from Spurs at the minute. You know, as I said, they haven't really got out of their half as of yet.
OK, Michael, great stuff. Be back to you very soon. Just get the very latest on that and keep you on top of it. And, of course, Brentford host Manchester United later on. Alex Bruce is watching that one for us this evening. Gents, OK, a couple more names just to throw at you as well, Carve, Darmesh, if I can, while we've got you. Carve, a couple of big heavyweight names of world football, Eden Hazard and Erling Haaland. What about those two?
Well, first of all, Eden Hazard is quite a curious situation because I think privately Real Madrid would listen to offers for him. They spent over 100 million euros on him. Again, the move hasn't worked out for him to Real Madrid from Chelsea. Lots of injury problems. His form hasn't been great. And I think he's about third choice in his position for Real Madrid at the moment. Now, I think as far as the player himself is concerned, he would prefer to wait until the summer and assess his options then. But of course, the Spanish media has been full of stories linking him with a move back to the Premier League. And guess what? Surprise, surprise, Newcastle United have been mentioned as a possible destination. Chelsea also have been mentioned, Everton. But I think the problem as far as Eden Hazard moving is concerned is that Real Madrid would want to get at least some of the big money that they spent on him back, and also his wages. I think he earns about £250,000 a week in Madrid, so that would be a stumbling block for him coming back to the Premier League. As far as Erling Haaland is concerned, we heard him last week saying that he felt under pressure from Borussia Dortmund to decide what he was going to do, where he was going to play, if he was going to move in the summer, because of course he's got this £64 million release clause. We have also now heard from the Borussia Dortmund chief executive, Hans-Joachim Watzke, and he says that he's surprised by Haaland's comments. As far as he's concerned, he says they're not putting any pressure on Haaland, and he says that to say that Borussia Dortmund would give Haaland an ultimatum is rubbish. So a little bit of a difference of opinion there between the Borussia Dortmund hierarchy and Erling Haaland about his future. But what we know for sure is that he has this release clause in his contract, £64 million. It kicks in, I think, on the last day of May, and all the biggest clubs in the world are going to be trying to sign him.
OK, Carve, thanks so much. That's an update on Hazard and Haaland. And Darmesh, you've got an update on, who is it? Is it another signing for Watford?
Yeah, this one's close. It's the Bordeaux winger Samuel Kalou, and it's on a permanent deal. The deal is agreed and the Nigerian international has been having a medical. It would be Watford's fourth signing of this transfer window, following Hassan Kamara, the left-back from Nice, Edo Kayembe, the midfielder from KAS Eupen, and Samir, the central defender from Udinese. OK, so potentially another Kalou in the Premier League. What about Timo Werner? Let me just speak about him, because there's been plenty going on at Chelsea, hasn't there, recently? Werner's actually been speaking to our colleagues at Sky Germany about a couple of teammates who've been linked with moves away from the club and could actually leave in the summer for free. And Werner has said that both Antonio Rudiger and Andreas Christensen would actually enhance any team in world football.
Kann ich nichts zu sagen.
I'm not involved in the negotiations of these two players. I would be happy with both if they stayed here, because they are very, very good defenders. You would give them away with a heavy heart if they left.
There you go. So, I mean, compliments there from Werner about Rudiger and Christensen. Don't know how much it helps Chelsea when they're trying to negotiate new contracts and so on. But what's the latest we're hearing on those guys?
Werner sounds just like our colleague Josh there, doesn't he? Just on Christensen and Rudiger, they're not the only two who are into the final 6 months of their contracts at Chelsea. Cesar Azpilicueta, the Chelsea captain, of course, he's into the final 6 months. Thomas Tuchel has always said, look, we want to keep these players. He continues to play them, in particular Antonio Rudiger. And as far as Rudiger's concerned, I'm told today that his representatives are talking numbers now with Real Madrid, with PSG and with Bayern Munich. So signing a pre-contract agreement cannot be ruled out. He's leaving all of that, is Rudiger, to his representatives. He's got far too much to focus on with regard to matters on the pitch. With Chelsea, they're involved in 4 competitions. They want to finish in the top 4. They're in the round of 16 in the Champions League. They're in the final of the EFL Cup. They're into the 4th round of the FA Cup as well. But leaving the decision until the summer, that can't be ruled out either, because any club that would want to sign Antonio Rudiger on a pre-contract agreement, he'd have those options in the summer. But significantly, he'd have the options of any Premier League or English club that would want to come in for him in the summer, because he'd be a free agent. And we know Manchester United's interim manager, Ralf Rangnick, is a known admirer of Antonio Rudiger. But having said all of that, it cannot be ruled out that he would extend his contract at Chelsea. It just, at this stage, the offer that was given to him was turned down. They haven't come back with an improved offer, but the lines of communication, shall we say, remain open.
OK, great stuff, Darmesh. We haven't spoken much about West Ham this window. I mean, they're doing fantastically on the field at the moment. Any surprise, Carvey, that they've not added anyone? I mean, they've had a bit of investment as well recently.
Yeah, I mean, talking about investment, it is actually 12 years ago today that David Sullivan and David Gold bought the club in a deal that valued West Ham at about £105 million. I think at the time it was a bit of a risk to sign a club who were £100 million in debt. I think Tony Fernandes, who went on to buy QPR, was also trying to sign West Ham at the time. There have been lots of lows over those 12 years. There was the relegation, but they bounced back and they've stayed up ever since. The fans obviously have been unhappy. They've moved stadium. But you have to say that since David Moyes came back to the club, things have really, really improved. They got into Europe last season. They're in the Champions League places at the moment. And what a lot of fans will be saying is, why are we not strengthening this window? Surely this is the time to give David Moyes the players he needs to help us kick on, to help us consolidate, to help us get into the Champions League. Now, my understanding of the situation is David Moyes is being backed. He has been told by the board there is money available, but I think David Moyes is struggling to find better players than the players he has in his squad at the moment. But make no mistake, if David Moyes identifies targets and says, these are the players I want, there are deals there to be done, then he will be backed, because money is there available for him to make signings if he wants to, and if he finds the right players and the right characters who he thinks will improve the squad he has.
OK, and one other name that's floating around today, I noticed, Endrick. No, not Jeff Hendrick from Newcastle, but Endrick, who's a Brazilian, isn't he? Is he a young Brazilian?
Yeah, he's 15 years old. He plays for Palmeiras. We don't want to put too much pressure on his shoulders, but he's been described as the future of Brazilian football.
No pressure.
No pressure. He's been compared to Romario. He's been compared to Ronaldo. Right. He's only 15 years old. If you check him out on social media and on digital platforms, he's scored some quite incredible goals. Now, most of the big clubs around the world are watching him: Real Madrid, Liverpool, Barcelona, Manchester United, the usual suspects. But what is significant is that today in Sao Paulo, Barcelona have sent scouts to watch him play. So definitely a name to look out for, because I think he will be moving to Europe in the near future. Endrick, 15-year-old who plays for Palmeiras.
OK, the jewel of Palmeiras is described. I think he can compare to Romario and Ronaldo. I mean, they're different players.
I didn't compare him. I said he has been compared.
I know. I remember when you were the next big thing, Carver, we were all talking about you coming through the system. Now you're there. Yeah. Great stuff, guys. Look, that's been brilliant. Our Premier League wrap is next with Carver, Darmesh are going to be going through all the teams, and we're going to have more updates from Leicester against Tottenham, from Michael, and Alex will be joining us to talk us through Brentford against his old team Manchester United as well.
I'm in.
Chelsea's Yves Bissouma as well. Any potential move may have to wait until the summer.
Aaron Hickey and Mikhailo Mudryk are among a number of options Brentford are looking into for their priority wing-back position.
Brighton still in talks to sign Julio Enciso from Paraguayan club Libertad. They don't want to sell the 17-year-old, but it could be difficult to turn down a big offer from a Premier League club.
Burnley, they remain interested in striker Andy Carroll. He's currently a free agent after a 2-month spell at Reading.
Chelsea still in the market for a left-back, but a deal for Levan Kurzawa from PSG is looking unlikely.
Crystal Palace love a late deal, but as it stands, no incomings expected due to the form of Jean-Philippe Mateta and Christian Benteke's reluctance to leave.
Everton's focus is on finding a new manager to replace Rafa Benitez. Duncan Ferguson in caretaker charge for the time being.
Leeds United remain in talks with RB Salzburg over the signing of midfielder Brendan Aronson.
Good news on the injury front for Leicester. With lots of players back training, Brendan Rodgers still looking to sign a centre-back on loan.
Liverpool likely to remain quiet in this window, and much of the focus is on Mohamed Salah's contract.
Borussia Dortmund have denied they're putting pressure on Manchester City target Erling Haaland to decide his future. He has a £64 million release clause which can be activated this summer.
Newcastle United have made an approach to Manchester United for Jesse Lingard. Lingard is out of contract at Old Trafford in the summer.
Newcastle face competition for Sevilla defender Diego Carlos from 2 other clubs, one in England and one in Italy. The player wants to move even though Sevilla are second in La Liga.
Norwich City manager Dean Smith happy with his squad but may do business if Todd Cantwell leaves.
Southampton, one of the clubs being linked with a move for Fulham attacking midfielder Fabio Carvalho. He's out of contract in the summer.
Tottenham interested in Middlesbrough wingback Jed Spence. Spence is currently on loan at Nottingham Forest.
Watford are close to signing Bordeaux winger Samuel Kalou. He's set to become their 4th signing of the window.
Money is available for West Ham United manager David Moyes to strengthen his squad, but he's struggling to find better players than the ones he already has.
And Wolves value Adama Traore at more than Spurs are willing to pay. If that remains the case, he will be staying at Wolves.
Well, the transfer show is back at 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. tomorrow. Join Darmesh and Carvey and everyone else for analysis and debate on all of the latest moves. Let's get up to date with things in the world of football. Alex Bruce has joined us for the Brentford-Manchester United game. Michael's still with us watching Spurs against Leicester. Looks like a really strong start by the away team, Michael, in that one.
Yeah, first 5 minutes it was all Leicester, but since then it's been all Spurs. They've had 6 corners already. Kane's hit the bar from a corner. Sanchez just had a free header on the far post that he should score with. It's been all Tottenham, and that's the performance that you want from Spurs. They're on the front foot. They look aggressive in their play. And you can only see the goal coming from Spurs at the minute.
OK, 0-0 for now, but Spurs certainly on top. Alex, you're watching your old team, Manchester United, take on a Brentford tonight. Before I get to that, a couple of transfer stories floating around today. Jesse Lingard, potential move to your dad's old team, Newcastle. A player that's been linked with Newcastle before.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, I think wherever he goes, it's a great signing for somebody. I think it's very interesting that he's not involved tonight. And I think for Jesse's case, he needs to go and play football. We've seen how well he did last season when he went to West Ham. I'm sure when he went back to Old Trafford, he expected to play a lot more than what he has done. And whoever gets him, as I say, he'll be a good acquisition to whoever squad he goes into.
Yeah, not involved tonight. And actually, Alice, apologies, I'm going to break away because there's been a goal in our game at Leicester. And you said it, Michael, only one team going to score at the minute. But it's the other team, it's Leicester who've gone in front. What's happened?
Yeah, commentator's curse. Leicester have just gone up the other end after having a lot of pressure in their half. And Reguilon comes across from left back and makes a tackle on Lookman, and he actually puts in Daka, and he's just chips it over the keeper from 3 yards out, and it's 1-0 Leicester.
Goodness me, so Spurs are on top, but Patson Daka, if he's free in the box, he tends to find the back of the net, so that is a goal for Leicester City. OK, we're just about up for the hour, gents, so we can focus on the game. I totally take your point on Lingard. We could have spoken a bit more about that, but yeah, he's going to be a great acquisition, but someone that I think is going to have to pay a lot of money if they want to do it now in January, so we'll keep a close eye on that. Alex is going to be watching Brentford versus Manchester United. Michael is staying here to watch Leicester versus Spurs, with Leicester City leading 1-0. And as I mentioned, tomorrow, don't forget The transfer show is back. Carvey and Darmesh with all the latest deals and moves. And will much happen overnight? You imagine it will. There's been a lot happening behind the scenes. The guys are working hard to get all the latest transfer news up to date. So join us as well for the shows in the morning, where they're back at 9 a.m. tomorrow.